Okay, we got a question here from Dr. Duck Dawkins. Clearly he's a physician of some sort. He wants to know about particles, right? He says in the email, it's very professional, by the way, you should see this email. It says, this is, by the way, this is all caps. Ken, please, please, please. There's like 4 pleases in here with like 5 exclamation points after them. Can you do a video on particles? Yes. Answer is yes. All caps, yes. I will. Because you know what? There's a lot of confusion with these particles. They're so simple. People think they're hard. The only reason they're hard to you or to us is because of our English mind, right? This is why I talk about you have to have input. But anyway, we're not used to them because there's no such thing as a particle in English, right? But they actually make the language very simple, right? So what is a particle? First, let me tell you what a particle is. They're these little things like, there's only like 5 of them, first of all, that are very common. If you get these 5, you're pretty much good. There's other ones, but the main ones, right? Wa, ga, o, ni, de. I'm doing this video on top of my head, so forgive any hesitations. But that's it. That's the 5 ones. You learn those. There's other ones like no and mo. But the main ones are these. If you get these, you got like 90% of the cases that particles are used in. What are they? They're like 2-syllable things. What the heck are they? What do they do? Well, basically all they do is they mark the word that comes before them as a certain something. That's it. There's nothing complicated about it, right? So for example, the first one we've got here, and it depends on what they mark them as, depending on what the marker is, right? One thing about markers, before I start, I tell you what these are. The first thing you really need to know is they're very important for you as a Japanese learner, especially if you're learning through anime. Right? I say learn through anime, but you gotta learn these grammar points before you learn through anime, or as you learn through anime, not before. As you learn, you have to learn these because they'll separate the words for you. Right? So when you first hear Japanese, when you're learning Japanese through anime, what's the biggest problem with that? Tell me right away. You can't figure out where the word starts and where the word ends. It's just blah, 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 blah. That's how they sounds to someone who doesn't speak the language. Where does the first word end and start? I have no idea, right? So when you have markers, when you learn the markers, they're in between every single word. So, oh, I know where that, if you know the markers, oh, that's that word ended here, and here's another word, and here's another word. It's very fast, but you'll be able to hear the parts that you know, and that'll separate the parts that you don't know, and then your brain can go to work to make connections. Anyway, that's another story for another time. That's why they're very important. Another thing is that you don't want to overcomplicate learning these, right? Because you need to keep them very simple. And I'm going to give you the dirtiest, simplest explanation. It's going to be like 5 seconds. Why? Because you need to learn them through context. You have to learn how they're used in every sentence. You can't just learn what they are. Because, I mean, there's rules to these things, but there's like 1,000 exceptions to every rule. So for me, that's like, what's the point in making the rules? That's why you read a grammar book about how, and then you just get more confused because there's a bazillion exceptions. I have no idea. So I'm going to give you the general basic rules, and then you learn through context. Go watch some anime. Go see how they're actually used in real sentences. Anyway, so let's decomplicate the whole thing. They're markers. They mark the thing that comes before them. The first one is wa. What does it mark? It marks the topic of the sentence. It's very simple. I call this in my courses, right? First of all, in my courses, I don't call them particles because that doesn't make any sense. I call them markers because that's what they do. Right? So they mark, and what is this one called? This one's called the about marker. Why? Because it marks what you're talking about. What are you talking about, man? This is what I'm talking about. Right? So a simple sentence, Ore wa sugoi yo. I'm amazing. Ore sugoi ze. Right? Omae wa sugoi yo. So, ore wa. We're talking about who? Talking about me. This is a good sentence. I like it already. We're talking about me. Ore wa. Ore means I. Ore wa. Sugoi. I'm amazing, right? Anata wa sugoi. You're amazing. Anata wa. Anata's you. Wa. We're talking about you now, right? Not so interesting. But anyway. So that's how wa goes. It's very simple. It just marks the beginning of the sentence. It marks the topic, what you're talking about. What is it? It's about. What are you talking about? Right? Then you've got ga. That's the next common one. Ga. What is ga? People get ga and wa confused because they're very similar, aren't they? There's one important difference that you can keep in mind generally is that ga, I call it the specific marker. The specific. Because what are you talking about specifically? I know what you're talking about, but what are you really talking about? It's what usually when you're comparing something, right? You're referring to something in specific, right? So, for example, we talked to a girl, you and me, we're picking up on this girl, and we're like, hey, who do you like better? You like me, or do you like this guy better, right? And then she'll use ga to tell which one she likes. Yeah, anata ga suki. Yeah, kono hito ga suki. So, anata ga, that's you, I like you. Right? Ga. She used ga for that one because she's talking about me in comparison to you, which is clearly that she's always going to pick me. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. This is stupid. That's how you use it. Do you like hot dogs or hamburgers? I like hot dogs. You know what? When we're talking out of these two, I like this one. This is the one I like. So that's the difference between that. Again, the rules are blurred. Right? They blur sometimes. So that's the general rule. Then we've got, what's the next one? Wa, ga, ni. Ni is the next one. Ni is another big one that's used a lot. Ni is the directional marker. Right? It points you in a certain direction. Right? Where are you going? So in English, you can use this to be either to or in. Right? I'm going to the store. 店、コンビニに行きます。コンビニ。I'm going to the コンビニ。I'm going to the convenience store. コンビニに。Right? Or you can, where else you 学校に行く。学校、school. Going to school. 学校に行く。俺学校に行くよ。学校に行く。What else is there? Or in, right? Where are you going? I'm going in the cup. カップに行く doesn't make any sense, but in, choose for in sometimes. What's a good example for in? I don't know, I'm doing it on top of my head, but it means in some circumstances, right? 中に行く. I'm gonna go inside. Go in. So there's in or to. Then the next one is de. That's the next one you're probably gonna learn for most common. De is at or with. Right? So you got one that means to or in, and again, exceptions to every rule, but these are the generals. De means at or with. Where did you die at? Where did you die? I was wondering where you died. I died over there. あそこで死んだ。あそこで死んでしもうた. I died way over there. ここで死んだよ. I died right here. At this place. When you're using the location, it's at, right? And then with is what did you die by? What did you die? I died by milk. ミルクで死んだ. I died by way of milk. Way. It's usually an object or it's a place. That's how you know whether it's at or with, right? If the marker is an object, it's probably with. If the marker is a location, it's probably at. These are dirt, cheap, easy rules you can remember. Then the last one's probably the most complicated, or at least harder to grasp and harder to explain. It's the what marker. It's o. It's a W-O, but usually pronounce it just like an O, right? So the O is O, and it marks what the object is. It's the object marker. What's the action taking place with? What is the object you're using, right? So just an easy dirty example is a cup, right? What are you gonna use? カップを使う. 使う means to use. コップ is the way you say cup. コップを使う. Going to use a cup, right? So what are you using? You're using the cup. So that's how you know what O means. It just marks what the verb is referring to, right? If you use a different verb, if you don't use 使う, you can use 食べる, right? これを食べる. I'm gonna eat this. Right? What are you gonna eat? I'm gonna eat this. Right? You see that? So that's how they work. That's very simple, easy, super dirt rules. Don't get complicated. Learn these through context. Now take those 5 and go watch some anime, go watch some shows, go maybe read some sentences, go use a textbook, go ahead. And see how they're actually used in real life, because you'll start to get a feeling. These things are very touchy-feely. Japanese is very touchy-feely. You're gonna need to get a Japanese feel for these things, right? Unlike English, where it's very concrete, right? A lot of feelings with these. Okay, so I really think that's gonna help you out. This is the end all to all particle questions forever. All right, so go enjoy now.